I made up that I was pregnant to test my fiancé. But what he did surprised me. Rachel Thompson never imagined that a lie born from insecurity could turn into something so complex. What started as a simple test of love became a web of emotions that would involve not just her and her fiancé, but the entire family. It was on a Thursday morning that she held in her hands the pregnancy test bought at the corner drugstore in the Upper East Side. She wasn't pregnant, but she had an idea she couldn't get out of her head. Daniel Harrison, her fiancé of 2 years, always talked about marriage and children in a vague way, never making a real commitment. Rachel needed to know if he really loved her, or if he was just passing time. She took a deep breath and entered the living room where Daniel was watching the morning news. He was sitting on the sofa they had bought together 6 months earlier, drinking coffee from one of the mugs she had given him as a birthday gift. "Daniel, I need to tell you something," she said, feigning nervousness. He turned off the television and turned to her with his full attention. Rachel noticed how his brown eyes fixed on hers with genuine interest. "What is it, love? Did something happen?" I took a test this morning." She paused, watching his every reaction. "I'm pregnant." The silence that followed lasted only a few seconds, but felt like an eternity. Daniel went completely still, processing the information. Then, to Rachel's total surprise, he began to cry. They weren't tears of joy, as she had expected, nor of despair, as she had feared. They were deep tears, laden with a pain she had never seen in him. Daniel covered his face with his hands and sobbed in a way that made her heart tighten. "Daniel," she whispered, moving closer to him on the sofa. "What's happening?" He raised his reddened eyes and took her hands with an intensity that frightened her. "Rachel, I never told you about Victoria." "Victoria? Who is Victoria?" "She was my fiancée before you. We were together for 4 years. His voice came out shaky. "She was pregnant when we lost the baby." Rachel felt the world spin around her. Daniel had never mentioned a previous fiancé, much less a child that never came to be. "What do you mean? What happened?" "It was 5 years ago. Victoria was 6 months along when there was an accident. She was coming back from a doctor's appointment that I should have gone to with her, but I stayed at work finishing a stupid project." He paused to wipe his tears. "Her car was hit by a truck that ran a red light. Victoria survived, but we lost our son." His words hit Rachel like a punch to the stomach. She had made up a pregnancy to test his love and discovered he carried a deep pain related to exactly that. "Why did you never tell me?" "Because it hurts too much to talk about it, because I still feel guilty to this day. If I had gone with her that day, maybe—" He couldn't finish the sentence. "And Victoria, where is she?" "After we lost the baby, she couldn't look at me anymore. She blamed me for the accident, said if I had been there, I could have driven or chosen a different route. We broke up a few months later. Since then, I've been terrified of the thought of having children again." Rachel was in total shock. The charade she had created to test Daniel's love had revealed a deep trauma he had been carrying alone for years. Now she didn't know how to get out of this situation without causing even more pain. "But now it's different," Daniel continued, holding her face in his hands. "Now I want this. I want to have a family with you. I'll do everything right this time. I'll take care of you like I didn't take care of her." The determination in his voice was touching and terrifying at the same time. Rachel realized she had created a situation that wouldn't be easy to get out of. "Daniel, No, let me speak," he interrupted her. "I know you must be scared. I am too. But this time will be different. I'll be present at every appointment. I'll take care of every detail. Our son will be born, safe and loved." The next hours passed in a blur. Daniel cancelled all his appointments for the day, called his boss to ask for time off and started making calls to gynecologists. He transformed into a version of himself that Rachel had never seen, attentive, protective, and determined. That night, when they were finally alone again, Rachel tried to process everything that had happened. Daniel prepared her favorite dinner, put extra pillows on the sofa so she'd be comfortable, and even researched online about prenatal care. "Honey, I found here that you can't carry heavy things anymore. Tomorrow I'm going to hire someone to do the heavy cleaning," he said, showing his phone full of open tabs about pregnancy. Daniel, you don't have to overdo it. It's not overdoing it, it's care. I failed once, I won't fail again. Failed. Guilt began to eat away at Rachel. Seeing Daniel dedicate himself so much because of a lie was becoming unbearable. At the same time, she was discovering a side of him she had never known, vulnerable, caring, and deeply loving. Dear listener, if you're enjoying the story, please take a moment to like and especially subscribe to the channel. It really helps us who are just starting out. Now, continuing. The next morning, Daniel woke up before her and was already preparing a special breakfast. He had bought fresh fruit, whole grain bread, and even prenatal vitamins. "Good morning, Mommy," he said, kissing her forehead tenderly. The word mommy made Rachel feel as if a stone were in her stomach. She wasn't a mommy, she was only pretending to be. "I booked an appointment for this afternoon with Dr. Amanda Roberts. She's the best obstetrician in New York, according to my research." Daniel was clearly excited. "And I've also started looking into schools. I know it's early, but I want our son to have the best. This afternoon. But it's so early, Daniel, we don't even know how many weeks. That's exactly why we need to go. We want to know everything, right?" He held her hands. "Rachel, I need to ask you something. I know it might seem silly, but can you promise me you'll tell me everything? Any symptom, any discomfort, anything?" "Of course I will." "It's just that with Victoria, she sometimes hid when she wasn't feeling well. Said it was so I wouldn't worry. I don't want you to do that." The irony of the situation was cruel. Daniel was asking for total honesty while she was living the biggest lie of her life. "I'll tell you everything. I promise." "Great. And another thing. I think we should tell our families today. I know some prefer to wait, but I want everyone to know. I want everyone to help us take care of you." Panic took over Rachel. Telling their families would mean involving more people in the lie. It meant the charade would grow and become even harder to undo. "Don't you think it's too early? What if what?" Daniel stopped setting up breakfast and looked at her with concern. "Do you think something could go wrong?" "It's not that. It's just that some people prefer to wait the first 3 months. I understand your concern, love, but I don't want to hide our happiness. Besides, the sooner we tell them, the sooner everyone can support us." He moved closer to her. "Unless you don't want people to know, are you having regrets?" "No," she answered too quickly. "I'm not having regrets. It's a lot to process." "I know, love. It is for me too. But this time we're going to do everything right." During breakfast, Daniel didn't stop talking about plans for the future. He mentioned the possibility of buying a bigger house, asking for a promotion at work to have more financial stability, and even about the names he would like for the baby. "If it's a girl, how about Hope? I've always liked that name," he said, smiling. "And if it's a boy, maybe Michael, like my grandfather." Each of his words was like a stab to Rachel's conscience. She was watching a man transform before her eyes, driven by a joy that was based on a lie. At 9 in the morning, Daniel's phone rang. It was his mother, Mrs. Margaret Harrison. "Hi, Mom. Actually, Rachel and I have some news to share." He looked at Rachel, who nodded hesitantly. "We're going to be parents, Mum. Rachel is pregnant." Rachel heard the joyful screams coming from the phone. Mrs. Margaret was known for her strong personality and definite opinions about everything. She had always treated Rachel with a cordial coldness, making it clear she thought her son could do better. "Yes, Mum, we're very happy." "No, we haven't been to the doctor yet. We're going this afternoon. Of course you can tell Christopher." Christopher was Daniel's younger brother, a doctor who graduated 3 years ago. When Daniel hung up, his smile was even bigger. "My mom is ecstatic. She said she always dreamed of this moment. And my brother wants to talk to us about doctors and care." "What else did she say?" "She asked if we want her to come stay for a few days to take care of you. She said she's going to be the most dedicated grandmother in the world." The situation was quickly spiraling out of control. Rachel realized she would have to keep up the charade not only with Daniel, but with his entire family. And knowing Mrs. Margaret, she knew the scrutiny would be constant. "I don't think she needs to come now. It's still very early." "You don't like my mother," observed Daniel, and it wasn't a question. "It's not that. It's just, I'd prefer it to be just the two of us at first." Okay. But she's going to want to be part of everything. Get ready, he laughed. Now I'm going to call your parents too. No, Rachel said too loudly. I mean, let me tell them in person. Tonight, maybe. Daniel agreed, but she noticed he found her reaction strange. The truth was, Rachel needed time to figure out how to tell this lie to her own parents. At 10 o'clock, Daniel left for work but promised to come back early to go with her to the doctor's appointment. As soon as he left, Rachel went into total panic. She called her best friend, Jennifer Parker, who worked as a nurse at a private hospital in Greenwich Village. Jen, I need to see you urgently. It's an emergency. What happened? Are you okay? I can't talk on the phone. Can you have lunch with me today? Of course. Noon at the cafe on the corner of your house. Perfect. Rachel spent the next 2 hours researching everything about pregnancy on the internet. Symptoms, tests, developmental stages, anything that could help her maintain the charade. At the same time, she felt worse and worse for lying to Daniel, especially after discovering the trauma he carried. At noon, she met Jennifer at the cafe. Her friend had curly black hair and always wore colorful earrings that matched her vibrant personality. They had known each other since their teaching degree in college, and Jennifer was the only person Rachel trusted completely. Rach, you look awful. What's going on? Jen, I made a huge mistake. Rachel told her everything, the insecurity with Daniel, the lie about the pregnancy, his unexpected reaction, and the trauma she discovered. Jennifer listened to everything in silence, her expression changing from curiosity to concern and then to alarm. Rachel Thompson, have you completely lost your mind? How are you going to get out of this? I don't know. That's why I need your help. My help? Rach, you need to tell him the truth, today. I can't. You didn't see how he reacted when I told him. He's healing from a trauma because of this news. If I tell him it's a lie, it will be worse if he finds out on his own, and he will find out, Rach. How are you going to fake symptoms? And the tests, and when your belly doesn't grow? That's why I need your help. You work at the hospital, you know, doctor. Stop talking nonsense. I'm not going to help you deceive Daniel. He's too good a guy to deserve this. Jen, please. I will tell him the truth. But I need a little time. He's so happy. And you think you're doing him a favor. Rach, he's making plans based on a lie. He's healing from a trauma based on a lie. That's cruel. Rachel started crying right there in the cafe. Jennifer sighed and held her friend's hand. Listen, I understand you got yourself into a difficult situation, but every day that passes will be worse. You have to tell him the truth. What if I wait just a few more days, until I see how he reacts? What do you mean? Like, I could pretend I lost the baby. Then he doesn't find out about the lie, but I also don't have to keep up the charade forever. Jennifer looked at her with an expression of total disbelief. Rachel, you're scaring me. Pretend a loss. Do you have any idea what that would do to him after everything he's been through? But it would be better than him finding out it was all a lie from the start. No, it wouldn't. Listen carefully to what I'm going to tell you. You have until the end of this week to tell him the truth. If you don't, I will. You wouldn't do that to me. Yes, I would, because you're my friend and I won't let you sink any deeper into this lie. And because Daniel is also a good guy and doesn't deserve this. They said goodbye with a tension that had never existed between them. Rachel went home knowing she had a week to make a decision. At 2 p.m, Daniel arrived with a bouquet of yellow flowers, which he said he'd discovered were ideal for pregnant women because they don't have a strong scent. How are you feeling? Any nausea? Sleepiness? I'm fine, lied Rachel. Great. The appointment is at 4. Dr. Amanda managed to fit us in because I explained the situation. She said she'll do all the necessary tests. The panic returned. Rachel couldn't go to a real doctor. She needed to come up with an excuse. Daniel, I was thinking, what if we chose another doctor? Why? Dr. Amanda has the best references in the city. It's just that my mother always said that when I got pregnant, I should see Dr. Mitchell, who delivered her. It's a family tradition. Daniel looked confused but agreed. Okay, I'll reschedule. What's his full name? Rachel quickly made up a name and said she would call to schedule it herself. Daniel agreed, but she noticed he was a little disappointed not to be at the first appointment. That evening, during dinner, Daniel brought up the topic of their families again. "Honey, my mother called about 5 times today. She wants to come over tomorrow to talk with you about the pregnancy, and my brother wants to talk with us too." "What kind of talk?" "You know my mother. She'll want to know everything. Symptoms, due date, if we want her at the delivery." The idea of lying to Mrs. Margaret was terrifying. The woman had sharp intuition and didn't like Rachel. It would be a dangerous combination. "And what about Christopher?" "He wants to give some medical advice. You know how it is, younger brother wanting to help." Rachel remembered that Christopher was a gynecologist. It would be impossible to fool him for long. "Daniel, what if we didn't tell anyone else yet, just until we're sure everything is okay?" "Sure of what? You took the test. It was positive. But sometimes it can be a false positive, or other things can happen." And Daniel stopped eating and looked at her with concern. "Rachel, are you feeling something strange? Any pain, bleeding?" "No, it's not that. It's just that I don't want to get my hopes up and then, you know how it is." He got up from the table and came to sit beside her. "Love, I understand your worry. After what happened to me before, I get scared too, but we can't live in fear. We have to trust that this time it will work out. And if it doesn't, then we'll face it together. But I won't let fear stop me from being happy now." That conversation made Rachel realize something. Daniel wasn't just happy about the pregnancy. He was healing through it. The news had given him an opportunity to overcome the trauma and forgive himself. How could she take that away from him? That night, she could barely sleep. Daniel slept beside her with a smile on his face, one hand resting protectively on her still flat stomach. The image was both touching and torturous. The next morning, Daniel woke up even more dedicated. He prepared a full breakfast, with fruit, cereal, and fresh orange juice. "I looked it up and saw that vitamin C is important for pregnant women," he said proudly. The phone rang before she could answer. It was Mrs. Margaret. "Daniel, dear, I'm at the door. I brought a few little things for Rachel." Rachel felt her blood run cold. Mrs. Margaret was at the door, unannounced, ready to bombard her with questions. "Mom, you didn't say you were coming over this early," said Daniel, opening the door. Mrs. Margaret entered, carrying shopping bags. She was a woman of about 60, hair always impeccable and clothes elegant. She greeted Daniel with a warm kiss and looked at Rachel with a smile that didn't reach her eyes. "Rachel, dear, how are you?" she said, approaching for a formal hug. "I'm well, Mrs. Margaret. Thank you for asking. I brought some things I researched online. Teas appropriate for pregnant women, ginger biscuits for nausea, vitamins." She spread everything out on the kitchen table. "And also some books about pregnancy and motherhood." Daniel was beaming, seeing his mother getting excited about the situation. "Mom, you went overboard. I did no such thing. I'm living a dream. I've always wanted to be a grandmother." She looked directly at Rachel. "And you, dear, how have you been feeling? Any morning sickness yet? Changes in taste?" The questions were direct and probing. Rachel realized she'd have to improvise symptoms on the spot. "A bit of nausea in the morning, and I'm sleepier than normal." "Ah, yes, that's very common. And about food, any specific aversions?" "The smell of coffee has been bothering me a little," Rachel invented, remembering something she read online. "Interesting. With me, it was exactly the opposite. During my pregnancy with Daniel, I drank coffee all day." Mrs. Margaret continued, observing Rachel attentively. "And when was your last period, so we can calculate the weeks?" Rachel hadn't thought of that detail. She quickly made up a date. "About 5 weeks ago. So you're still very early. Good that you found out early," Mrs. Margaret smiled. "Have you scheduled a doctor's appointment yet?" "We'll schedule it today," replied Daniel. "Great. By the way, Christopher called yesterday. He really wants to talk to you both. As a doctor, he can give valuable tips." The prospect of having to deceive a family doctor made Rachel even more nervous. "Mrs. Margaret, actually, we'd prefer to keep this more private for now." "Private? Why?" The question came loaded with suspicion. "It's just that some people prefer to wait the first few months before telling anyone." Mrs. Margaret exchanged a look with Daniel that Rachel couldn't decipher. I understand. But family is different, isn't it? We're here to support you. Of course, Mom. But we'll respect what Rachel prefers, said Daniel, holding his fiancé's hand. After Mrs. Margaret left, Daniel was quieter than normal. During lunch, Rachel noticed he was thoughtful. Is everything okay? You've been acting strange since your mother left. It's just that, she made a comment when you went to the bathroom. What comment? She said she thought you looked very thin for a pregnant woman, and that you didn't seem to have that glow pregnant women usually have. Rachel felt her heart race. Every woman reacts differently to pregnancy, Daniel. I know, it's just that... He hesitated. She also said you seemed nervous about the questions, like you were hiding something. Hiding what? I don't know. Maybe she thinks you're not telling everything about how you feel, or that you have some worry you don't want to share with me. Rachel realized that Mrs. Margaret was more perceptive than she had imagined, and that keeping up the charade would be harder than she thought. Daniel, your mother never really liked me. Maybe she's looking for problems where there aren't any. My mother adores you. No, she doesn't. And that's okay. I understand she's protective of you. Daniel sighed. Maybe you're right. I'll talk to her about not being so intrusive. You don't have to. I can handle her. But internally, Rachel knew Mrs. Margaret would be a problem. The woman had life experience and sharp maternal intuition. It would only be a matter of time before she discovered something was wrong. In the afternoon, while Daniel was at work, Rachel received an unexpected call. It was Christopher, the brother-in-law. Hi, Rachel. Daniel gave me your number. I wanted to congratulate you both on the news. Thank you, Christopher. How are you feeling? Any discomfort? I'm fine. Just a bit of morning sickness. Normal. Listen, I wanted to talk to you guys about medical care. I can recommend some excellent colleagues. Actually, we've already chosen a doctor, Dr. Mitchell. Dr. Mitchell? What's the full name? I might not know him, but I'd like to look into his background. Rachel realized she had gotten herself into a mess. Christopher could easily find out the doctor didn't exist. Oh, I don't have the full details yet. My mother recommended him. I see. Well, anything you need, you can count on me. Also, if you want, I can accompany you to some appointments. It's always good to have a doctor in the family nearby. Thank you so much. I'll talk with Daniel. After hanging up, Rachel realized she was creating more and more problems for herself. Now she had to invent a doctor, schedule fake appointments, and still prevent Christopher from discovering the charade. She spent the rest of the afternoon researching gynecologists in New York to choose a convincing name. She also looked up pregnancy symptoms to be able to simulate realistically. When Daniel got home, he came with more news. Honey, I talked to my boss today. I told him about the pregnancy and he was super happy. He even said I can have flexible hours to go with you to appointments. That's great, said Rachel, but inside she was panicking. How could she prevent him from accompanying her to appointments that didn't exist? And I have other news. I talked to the realtor about bigger houses. He's going to show us some options this weekend. Bigger houses? But our apartment is great. For the two of us, yes. But with the baby, we'll need more space. A nursery, maybe an outdoor area for him to play when he's older. Rachel saw Daniel making more and more concrete plans based on her lie. The guilt was becoming unbearable. Daniel, don't you think it's too early to think about moving? It's never too early to plan the best for our family. He sat down beside her on the couch. Rach, can I ask you something? Of course. Are you happy? About the pregnancy, I mean. The question caught her off guard. Why are you asking that? It's just, you seem a bit hesitant about everything. The doctor appointments, telling the family, making plans. I want to make sure you want this as much as I do. Rachel looked into his eyes and saw a vulnerability that touched her deeply. Daniel was insecure, needing confirmation that she was truly happy. Of course I want to, love. It's just, everything is happening so fast. I know, for me too, but it's just... He hesitated. After what happened with Victoria, I'm afraid of not cherishing every moment, as if time were too precious to waste. I understand. Promise me that if someday you're not okay, or if you have any fears, you'll tell me. I promise, she said, even knowing she was lying again. That night, Daniel fell asleep, holding her, whispering promises to the baby that didn't exist. Rachel stayed awake for hours, torn between the guilt of the lie and the affection she felt seeing Daniel so hopeful. The next morning, she received a message from Jennifer. Rach, I thought more about our conversation. I'll give you 2 weeks, not 1. But after that, you need to tell the truth. I can't watch you sink deeper into this lie. 2 weeks, 14 days to decide whether to confess the truth or find a way to end the charade without destroying Daniel. Dear listener, if you're enjoying the story, please take a moment to like and especially subscribe to the channel. It helps us a lot as we're just starting out, now continuing. In the following days, Rachel developed a routine of lies. She faked morning sickness, said she was more tired, and even simulated mood swings. Daniel responded to each symptom with extra care, which only increased her guilt. On the 5th day after the false revelation, Daniel came home with a surprise. Rach, look what I bought. He showed several boxes. It's a portable fetal Doppler, so we can listen to the baby's heartbeat at home. Rachel's blood ran cold. A Doppler would immediately detect there was no baby. Daniel, isn't that dangerous? Using medical equipment without guidance. I researched a lot. It's safe and many pregnant women use it. Imagine the joy of hearing our child whenever we want. I think we'd better wait for the doctor's appointment. The doctor can advise us better. Daniel seemed disappointed but put the equipment away. You're right. By the way, when is the appointment again? Rachel had made up that she would schedule it but hadn't done anything. Now she needed to improvise again. Dr. Mitchell only has an opening next week. Next week? Isn't there anything sooner? I can pay privately to speed it up. He said since I'm still early, it's fine to wait a few days. Daniel accepted it, but Rachel noticed he was anxious to make everything more real and official. Over the weekend, they visited the houses the realtor had selected. Daniel was excited, asking questions about safety, proximity to schools and hospitals. In one of the houses in Westchester, he fell in love with a room that would be perfect for the baby. Rach, look at this view. Our child would love waking up to see the ocean, he said, looking out the window. It is beautiful, she agreed, feeling her heart tighten. And there's space to put a crib here, a dresser there. He began gesturing, showing how he would organize the space. I could even do a themed painting on the wall. Rachel watched him plan a future that didn't exist. Daniel was more excited than she had ever seen him. The pregnancy had brought purpose and joy to his life in a way she never imagined possible. Daniel, don't you think we're rushing? Buying a new house, making so many plans. Why? He stopped analyzing the room and looked at her. Don't you want to move from here? It's not that. It's just, everything is changing so fast. Rach, what's going on? Ever since you told me about the pregnancy, you seem hesitant about everything. Do you not want to have this baby? The question was like a punch to the gut. Rachel saw the insecurity in his eyes and realized that her own indecision about how to maintain the charade was affecting Daniel. Of course I do. It's a lot to process. I understand. For me, too. But Rach, I need to know you're with me on this, that you want this as much as I do. I am. It's just, maybe we should take things slower. Slower how? I don't know. Not moving yet. Not making so many plans right away. Daniel was quiet for a few minutes, watching the ocean from the window of what would be the baby's room. Rachel, can I tell you something I've never told anyone? Of course. After I lost the baby with Victoria, I spent 2 years in therapy. You know why? Why? Because I was convinced I could never be happy again, that I would never have the courage to try to build a family. The therapist told me that one day I would have to choose between living in fear or living with hope. He turned to look directly at her. When you told me you were pregnant, it was like a light turned on inside me. For the first time in years, I chose hope, and now I feel like you're choosing fear. His words touched Rachel deeply. She was seeing how her lie had become something much bigger. It had given Daniel the chance to heal and start over. How could she take that away from him? I'm not choosing fear, it's just, I want to be sure we're making the right decisions. And how can we ever be sure of anything in life? The only thing I'm sure of is that I love you and I want to build a family with you." That night, Rachel made a decision that would change everything. She could no longer confess the truth as it would destroy Daniel, but she also couldn't keep up the lie indefinitely. She needed to find a third option. On Monday, while Daniel was at work, she went to a pharmacy far from home and bought a real pregnancy test. Her idea was to use the negative result to discover she had had a false positive on the first test. But when she got home and took the test, something impossible happened. It was positive. Rachel looked at the result 3 times, not believing her eyes. She checked the test's expiration date, read the instructions again, and even took a second test from another brand. Both were positive. She was really pregnant. The irony of the situation was cruel and perfect at the same time. While pretending to be pregnant, she had actually gotten pregnant. It had probably happened in the days following the lie, when she and Daniel had been closer than ever. Rachel sat on the bathroom floor and started laughing and crying at the same time. Fate had resolved her dilemma in the most unexpected way possible. When Daniel got home, she was in the living room, still processing the discovery. "Hi, love. How was your day?" He kissed her forehead. "Daniel, I need to tell you something important." "What is it? Did something happen with the baby?" His immediate concern showed how invested he was in the pregnancy. "Nothing's wrong, actually." She took a deep breath. "I took another test today." "Another test? Why?" "I wanted to be absolutely sure. And it's still positive. We really are expecting a baby." Daniel smiled but looked confused. "Honey, of course it's positive. You already took a test before." "I know, it's just, now I'm completely sure. No doubts." She decided not to tell him about the initial lie. The universe had given her a chance to turn the lie into truth. She would accept it. "I'm glad you're at peace now," said Daniel, hugging her. "You seemed so worried these past few days." "I was. But now I'm ready to live this fully." Daniel smiled in a way she had never seen before. It was a smile of pure happiness and relief. "So can we go back to making plans? Schedule a doctor, think about the new house?" "We can. But Daniel, there's one thing you need to know about me before we build our family." "What is it?" Rachel decided to tell part of the truth, without revealing the initial deception. "I was so afraid of not being a good mother, afraid you'd regret being with me. That's why I was hesitant about everything." "Rachel, how can you think that? You're going to be the best mother in the world. How can you be so sure? Because I see how you take care of me, how attentive, affectionate, and dedicated you are. If you do all that for me, imagine for our son." His words moved her deeply. Rachel realized that regardless of how it all began, they were truly building something real. "Daniel, promise me something?" "Anything. If I ever do something wrong, or if I make a decision you don't understand, promise you'll try to forgive me." "Rach, why are you saying this?" "It's just, sometimes people do things out of fear or insecurity that might seem wrong, but come from a place of love." Daniel held her face in his hands. "Rachel Thompson, there is nothing you could do that would make me stop loving you, nothing. And now with our baby on the way, we are a family. Families forgive each other, support each other, and grow together." In that moment, Rachel decided she would never tell him about the initial deception. What mattered was that now everything was real, the pregnancy, the love between them, and the family they were building. In the following weeks, she finally allowed Daniel to accompany her to real medical appointments. Seeing his joy upon hearing the baby's heartbeat for the first time was one of the most moving moments of her life. The real pregnancy brought symptoms she hadn't simulated: more intense nausea, extreme fatigue, mood swings. Daniel took care of every detail with dedication, reminding her to take vitamins, preparing special meals, and even waking up in the middle of the night when she felt sick. "You're being so dedicated," she said one night, after he brought her ginger tea for her nausea. "It's just that this time I want to do everything right," he replied. "I want you and our baby to have everything you deserve." Mrs. Margaret became an eager grandmother, calling every day to check on Rachel. To the surprise of both, they developed a closer relationship during the pregnancy. Her mother-in-law became an unexpected source of support. "Rachel, dear, I brought some little clothes I saw at the store," said Mrs. Margaret during one of her visits, showing tiny little onesies. "Mrs. Margaret, the baby isn't due for another 7 months. It's never too early to prepare. By the way, have you thought about names?" Daniel and Rachel exchanged looks and smiled. "If it's a girl, Hope," said Daniel. "And if it's a boy, Michael." "Hope. How beautiful. That's exactly what this baby has brought to our family." Rachel realized Mrs. Margaret had spoken the truth without knowing it. The baby really had brought hope. It had healed Daniel of his traumas and had brought the whole family together. Jennifer, when she learned of the real pregnancy, was in shock. "Rach, how did this happen?" "Right now." "Fate, Jen. It seems the universe wanted to turn my lie into truth." "And are you going to tell Daniel the truth someday?" "I don't know. Maybe when our son is grown, or maybe never. What matters is that now everything is real." "Don't you feel guilty?" "I do, but I also feel grateful. If I hadn't done that deception, I might never have discovered how capable Daniel is of love, and he might never have overcome his past trauma." Jennifer shook her head but smiled. "You have incredible luck, Rach, or some very strong divine protection." As the months passed, Rachel saw Daniel transform into the most dedicated and affectionate man she knew. He read books about fatherhood, set up the baby's room with his own hands, and even started singing to her belly before bed. "What are you singing?" she asked one night. "A song my grandfather used to sing to me when I was a child. I want our son to know it." "What were the lyrics like?" "Sleep, my little angel, for Daddy is here. Sleep peacefully, nothing will harm you. When you grow up, you'll understand that love is the force that makes us overcome." Rachel was moved by the tenderness in his voice. "Our son will be very lucky to have you as a father. And you as a mother. We are a family, Rach, a real family." In the 6th month of pregnancy, they had the ultrasound that would reveal the baby's sex. Daniel held her hand as the doctor moved the device over her belly. "Do you want to know the sex?" asked Dr. Mitchell, the doctor Rachel had chosen to oversee the royal pregnancy. "We do," they answered together. "It's a girl." Daniel began to cry with joy, kissing Rachel's hand repeatedly. "Hope," he whispered. "Our little Hope." "Why did you choose that name?" asked the doctor, smiling. "Because she brought hope back into our lives," replied Daniel, looking at Rachel with a love that made her feel like the luckiest woman in the world. That night, Daniel spent hours talking to Rachel's belly. "Hi, Hope. It's Daddy. I'm so eager to meet you. Your mommy and I have already prepared everything for your arrival. You'll have the most beautiful room in the world, amazing toys, and most of all, lots of love." Rachel listened to those whispers and felt she had made the right decision by not telling him about the initial charade. What mattered was that they had found true happiness. In the 7th month, during a baby shower organized by Mrs. Margaret and Jennifer, Rachel looked around and saw all the important people in her life celebrating Hope's arrival. Daniel was beaming, handing out sweets, and telling everyone how excited he was to be a father. "Rach," said Jennifer, approaching, "I'm going to ask you a question and I want an honest answer. Are you happy?" "Happier than I ever imagined possible." "Then it was the right decision. Sometimes fate uses our mistakes to lead us to the right place. Do you think I did the right thing by not telling him? I think some secrets are better kept, especially when they protect the happiness of those we love." In the 8th month, Daniel surprised Rachel with an unexpected proposal. "Rach, I want us to get married before Hope is born." "Now? I'm huge." "I don't care. I want our daughter to be born with married parents. I want everything to be official, perfect, but I wanted a beautiful wedding with a special dress. We can have a simple ceremony now and later. When Hope is a little older, we can have a big celebration. But I want to marry you as soon as possible." His determination touched her deeply. Daniel wanted to make everything official before the baby was born, to make them a complete family. All right, let's get married. They married in an intimate ceremony with only their families present. Rachel wore a simple yet elegant maternity dress, and Daniel couldn't stop smiling. When they exchanged rings, he whispered, "Thank you for giving me the family I always dreamed of." "Thank you for showing me what true love is," she replied. Dear listener, if you're enjoying the story, please take a moment to like and especially subscribe to the channel. It really helps us who are just starting out. Now continuing. Hope was born on a sunny December morning, weighing 7 pounds. Daniel was in the delivery room holding Rachel's hand throughout the entire labor. "She's coming," shouted the doctor. When they heard the baby's first cry, Daniel and Rachel cried together. He kissed her forehead and whispered, "Thank you for giving me my life back." Hope was perfect. She had her father's brown eyes and her mother's dark hair. When Daniel held her for the first time, his hands trembled with emotion. "Hi, my princess. It's Daddy. I love you more than anything in the world." Rachel watched the man she loved become a father and felt that all the suffering had been worth it. The charade that began out of insecurity had transformed into the greatest blessing of their lives. In the first months of Hope's life, Daniel revealed himself to be a dedicated and affectionate father. He woke up for nighttime feedings, changed diapers without complaint, and spent hours singing to his daughter. "Rach, look how she smiles when I sing that song from my grandfather," he would say, melting with love. "She recognizes your voice. You sang to her, even when she was in your belly." Family life was everything Rachel had dreamed of. Daniel had completely overcome the trauma of the past and become the father he had always wanted to be. Hope grew up healthy and loved, surrounded by a close-knit family. One day, when the baby was 6 months old, Daniel accidentally found some papers Rachel had forgotten in a drawer. They were searches about pregnancy symptoms she had done during the first days of the charade. "Rach, what is this?" he asked, showing the printed sheets. Rachel felt her heart stop for a second. She quickly thought of an explanation. "Oh, when I found out I was pregnant, I got so anxious that I researched everything about pregnancy. I wanted to make sure I was feeling the right things." Daniel smiled and hugged her. "You're such a careful mother, always worrying about doing everything right." That episode made Rachel realize that some secrets are better kept forever. What mattered was the reality they had built together. Hope turned one at a party organized by the whole family. She was already taking her first steps and babbling Daddy and Mommy. Daniel was prouder than ever. "Rach, can you imagine our life without her?" he said, watching his daughter play with the gifts. "I can't. Can you?" "Me neither. She completed our family in a way I didn't even know we needed." At that moment, Rachel remembered the conversation they had on the day she told him about the pregnancy. Daniel had said he wanted to get it right this time, and he truly had. He had become the most present and loving father a child could wish for. On Hope's second birthday, Daniel gave an emotional speech during the party. "I want to thank everyone here for being part of our family's life, especially my wife Rachel, who gave me the most precious gift in the world, our daughter Hope." He looked directly at Rachel. "Rach, you transformed my life in a way I didn't even know was possible. Before you, I lived afraid of being happy. Now, I wake up every day grateful to have the most perfect family in the world." The guests applauded, but Rachel was focused only on her husband's words. She had lied to test him, but had discovered a love deeper than she imagined possible. Hope grew up in a home full of love, care, and dedication. Daniel never missed a school performance, a birthday, or any important moment in his daughter's life. Rachel watched him be a father and marveled at the transformation fatherhood had worked in him. When Hope turned 5, she asked an innocent question that touched Rachel deeply. "Mommy, why do you and Daddy love me so much?" "Because you're our daughter, my love. Parents love their children unconditionally. But Edward in my class said not all parents are like that some don't take good care of their kids." Rachel looked at Daniel, who was listening to the conversation. "It's true, princess. Not all parents are the same, but your mommy and I love you more than anything in the world, and we will always take care of you. Always, always. Always, always," they answered together. That night, after Hope fell asleep, Daniel talked to Rachel. "You know, sometimes I get scared thinking about how I could have lost all this." "What do you mean?" "If I hadn't overcome my fear of being a father, if I hadn't accepted the possibility of having a family, I could have lost you and Hope because of the past. But you did overcome it. And look at the wonderful father you've become. It was you who gave me the strength. When you told me you were pregnant, it was like a light turned on inside me. It made me realize I was wasting my life living in fear." Rachel embraced her husband, feeling a mix of guilt and gratitude. Her initial lie had truly transformed Daniel's life, but she would never know how it would have been if she had told the truth from the start. In the following years, they had 2 more children, Gabriel, who was born when Hope was 4, and Sophia, who completed the family 3 years later. Daniel became even more dedicated, if that was possible, with each new child. "Rach, do you want to stop here or will we have more babies?" he joked one night after putting the 3 children to bed. "I think 3 is good. Our house is already full of joy." "And mess too," laughed Daniel. "But I wouldn't trade any of it for anything in the world." Rachel looked around the house they had bought in Westchester, the same one they visited when she was still pretending the first pregnancy. The room Daniel had imagined for Hope had become a reality, and now there were 2 more rooms full of life and laughter. When Hope turned 10, she asked a question that worried Rachel. "Mommy, can I ask you something about when I was born?" "Of course, my love." "Grandma Margaret said that when you told Daddy you were pregnant with me, he cried a lot. Why was he sad?" Rachel felt a tightness in her chest. How to explain to a 10-year-old the whole complexity of the situation? "He wasn't sad, Hope. He was emotional. Sometimes adults cry when they're very happy." "But why was he so emotional?" "Because your daddy always dreamed of having a family, and when he found out you were coming, he realized his dream was coming true." Hope seemed satisfied with the answer, but Rachel wondered if one day she would have to explain the whole truth to the children. That night, she talked to Daniel about it. "Daniel, do you think we should ever tell the children about Victoria and about your past?" "About Victoria, perhaps when they're older. I think it's important they understand that sometimes life gives us second chances. As for the rest, I don't know if it's necessary. What matters is the present we've built." "You never regret anything?" "Nothing. Every choice we made brought us here. If I changed anything, maybe our story would be different." Those words reassured Rachel. Daniel was at peace with the past and focused on the present they had built together. The years passed peacefully and happily. Daniel became a partner at the firm where he worked. Rachel returned to teaching at a private school, and the children grew up in an environment of love and stability. When Hope turned 15, something unexpected happened. Victoria, Daniel's ex-fiancée, made contact. "Daniel? It's Victoria. I know it might seem strange for me to call after so long, but I need to talk to you." Daniel was shocked to hear the voice he hadn't heard in over 15 years. He told Rachel about the call. "What did she want?" "She said she's going through a difficult time and would like to talk to me about the past, about forgiveness." "Are you going to meet her?" "I don't know. What do you think?" Rachel felt a mix of curiosity and apprehension. Victoria was part of Daniel's past, but she was also part of the story that led to his transformation. "I think you should decide for yourself. If you feel it can help you in some way, maybe it's good." "You don't mind?" "Daniel, we've been married for 15 years. We have 3 children. I am absolutely certain of your love for our family. If talking to Victoria can bring peace to her or to you, I support it." Daniel decided to meet Victoria at a cafe in Greenwich Village. When he arrived, he barely recognized her. She was thinner, with graying hair, and there was a sadness in her eyes that wasn't there before. "Daniel, thank you for agreeing to see me. What do you need, Victoria?" "I need to ask for forgiveness, for what I said when we lost our baby, for blaming you, for ending our relationship that way." Daniel was surprised. He had held on to resentment for years, thinking Victoria truly blamed him for the accident. "Victoria, the past is past. I've built a new life." "I know, and I'm glad you managed to. I never fully got over it. I spent years in therapy, married and divorced twice. I never managed to have other children. Victoria, I don't want your pity. I just want you to know you weren't to blame for anything. The accident wasn't your responsibility. I was angry, in pain, and I took it all out on you. It was unfair and cruel. Daniel felt a weight lifting from his shoulders. Even though he had built a happy life, he still carried a small amount of guilt about the past. Thank you for saying that. I really needed to hear it. Are you happy now? Very. I have a wonderful wife and 3 amazing children. I managed to become the father I always wanted to be. Victoria smiled, but there was sadness in her smile. I'm happy for you. Truly I am. And your wife? Does she know about our past? She knows I lost a child before, but not all the details. She must be very special to have helped you overcome all that. Yes, she is. She gave me the courage to start over. When Daniel returned home, he told Rachel everything. She listened attentively, sensing the meeting had been important for him. How do you feel now? Relieved, complete, as if the last piece of the past had finally fallen into the right place. And Victoria, how was she? Sad, but at peace. I think she needed that meeting too. That night, they talked about the importance of forgiveness and how the past can teach us without holding us captive. Rach, can I tell you something? Always. When I met you, I was convinced I would never be happy again. You proved me wrong. You taught me it's possible to start over, that it's possible to be happy again. You taught me a lot too. What? You taught me what true love is. Before you, I confused love with insecurity. I thought I needed to test people to be sure of their feelings. The irony of the words wasn't lost on Rachel. She had indeed tested Daniel, but she had learned that true love doesn't need tests. And now I know that true love is trust, it's care, it's building something together every day. Daniel kissed her tenderly. We're lucky, aren't we? To have found each other, to have our family. Very lucky. Years later, when Hope was in university and Gabriel and Sophia were still in high school, Rachel accidentally came across the old pregnancy research she had done during the initial charade. She was sorting through old papers when she came across the printed sheets. For a moment, she considered throwing them away. But then she decided to keep them. They were a reminder of how it all began, of how a lie born from insecurity turned into the greatest blessing of her life. She would never tell the truth to Daniel or the children. Some secrets are better kept, especially when they protect the happiness of the people we love. That night, as she watched Daniel helping Sophia with her homework and Gabriel organizing his school materials, Rachel reflected on the choices she had made. She had lied, yes. But from that lie was born a greater truth, the unconditional love between them, the wonderful family they built, and the transformation of Daniel into a man free from his fears. Sometimes fate uses our mistakes to lead us exactly where we need to be. When Hope graduated from medical school, following in Uncle Christopher's footsteps, Daniel cried with pride during the ceremony. Rach, our daughter is going to save lives. Look at the incredible woman she's become. She has you as an example of dedication and love. She has both of us. We're a team, we always have been. During the graduation party, Hope gave a speech that moved the whole family. I want to thank my parents, who taught me that love is the most powerful medicine there is. My father always said I brought hope into his life, but the truth is you both gave me hope to believe in all that is good in the world. Rachel and Daniel looked at each other, remembering the entire journey they had traveled together. Gabriel became an engineer like his father, and Sophia chose to be a teacher like her mother. Their 3 children grew up secure in their parents' love and became honest, happy adults. On their 25th wedding anniversary, Daniel organized a surprise party for Rachel. All the friends and family who had accompanied their journey were present. Rach, he said during the toast, 25 years ago, you gave me the news that changed my life forever. Since then, every day has been a confirmation that I made the right choice in choosing to build my life by your side. And you taught me that true love is the kind that makes us grow, that gives us the courage to be the best version of ourselves. Jennifer, who remained Rachel's best friend, approached her during the party. "Rach, can I ask you a question I never have?" "Of course." "Do you regret anything?" Rachel looked around. Daniel talking animatedly with their children, Mrs. Margaret playing with the grandchildren Gabriel had given the family, Sophia showing photos from her honeymoon trip, Hope telling about the patients she had saved that month. "No, Jen, I don't regret a thing. Not even especially that. It was the mistake that led me to the greatest certainty of my life, that Daniel is the love of my life, and that we were made for each other." That night, after everyone had left, Daniel and Rachel stayed on the porch looking at the stars as they had done for years. "What are you thinking about?" he asked. "About how surprising life is. Sometimes what seems like a mistake turns out to be the best thing in our lives. Are you talking about something specific?" "I'm talking about us, about our family, about how everything fit together perfectly. It's true, sometimes I feel as if every choice we made was guided by something bigger than us." "Perhaps it was." Daniel held her hand. "Rach, if you could go back in time and change anything in our story, would you?" "Nothing. Absolutely nothing. And you?" "I wouldn't either. Our story is perfect exactly as it is." Rachel smiled, knowing she had kept the right secret. Some truths are too important to be told, especially when they protect the happiness of the people we love. On the last day of the year, the whole family gathered for the traditional dinner. It was a tradition Daniel had started since Hope's birth. Every year they spent the turn of the year together, giving thanks for the blessings of the past year and making plans for the next. "Dad, Mum," said Hope, raising her glass, "I want to make a toast to you, for being the example of love I want to follow in my life, for teaching us that family is the most precious thing we have." "To the best parents in the world," added Gabriel. "And to the best grandparents too," Sophia added, looking at the small children playing in the living room. Daniel stood up, clearly moved. "My children, when I was young, I thought I had lost forever the chance to have a family. Today, looking at you, I realize God saved the perfect family for the right time in my life." He looked at Rachel. "And it all started on a Thursday morning, when your mother told me the most wonderful news I had ever received. Since then, every day has been a blessing." Rachel felt her eyes fill with tears. Even after all these years, Daniel still referred to that day as the milestone of his happiness. "Dad," said Gabriel, "tell your grandchildren the story of when you found out Mom was expecting Hope." Daniel smiled and looked at the children who had stopped playing to listen. "It was a December morning," he began, telling the story that had become legend in the family. The story of how an unexpected piece of news transformed their lives forever. Rachel listened to the version Daniel told, which obviously didn't include the initial deception, and realized how he had romanticized that moment. For him, it really had been the beginning of everything, and perhaps it had been. Regardless of how it started, that morning truly marked the beginning of the family they built, the love that blossomed, and the happiness they found together. When the children went back to playing, and the conversation flowed to other topics, Rachel got up and went to the kitchen to make more coffee. Daniel followed her. "What are you thinking about, my love?" "About how blessed we are." "We truly are. You know, Rach, sometimes I wonder what our life would be like if that morning hadn't happened." "What do you mean?" "If you hadn't gotten pregnant at that time, if we hadn't found the courage to build our family, would we have been this happy?" Rachel hugged her husband. "I'm sure we would have, because what brought us together wasn't just hope. It was the love we discovered in each other. You're right, hope was just the beginning. The rest we built ourselves." "Exactly." That night, after everyone had left, Rachel found Daniel in the memory room he had set up over the years. The walls were full of family photos, the children's first steps, graduations, weddings, grandchildren's births. "Come here," he said, showing an old photo. "Remember this?" It was a photo of Hope's ultrasound, still in Rachel's womb. "How could I forget? It was the day we found out she was a girl. I cried so much that day. Why? Because I was finally sure it was all real, that our family was really happening." Rachel looked at the photo and remembered how she had felt that day, guilty about the initial lie, but moved by the reality she was living. "Daniel, can I tell you something?" "Always." "You are the best man I know, the best father, the best husband. Our family was lucky to have you." "Our family was lucky to have you too. You taught me to love without fear, to live without looking back." At that moment, Rachel made a final and definitive decision. She would never tell him about the initial deception. That secret would die with her. Because what mattered wasn't how it all began, but what they had built together over the years. The true love they found, the wonderful family they raised, the happiness they discovered. None of that was false. None of it was based on a lie. It was based on their ability to truly love each other. Years later, now grandparents to several grandchildren, Rachel and Daniel continued to live their love story. He never found out about the initial deception, and she never regretted keeping that secret, because she had learned that some lies, when transformed into greater truths, become the pillars of happiness. And when she thought of that distant morning when it all began, Rachel felt no guilt. She felt gratitude. Grateful for having had the courage to take a risk, for testing Daniel's love and discovering something far greater than imagined. The lie had lasted only a few weeks. The love they discovered lasted a lifetime. End of story. So, what did you think of this emotional story? Did Rachel make the right decision by keeping her secret, or should she have told the truth? Leave your opinions here in the comments. Did you enjoy seeing how a mistake can turn into life's greatest blessing? If this story touched your heart, don't forget to like and subscribe to the channel for more stories that will move you.